What is going on, guys? Sakari5880 here, and today we have another Brave Frontier global video. This time it's Trial X4 Gazia that we are up against. Comes after that dreaded Trial X3. So let's just talk about the team composition here first. So the team that I bring here is a Rhoa lead with Occult Treasure and Heresy orb. We then have an Edea with Lafdranya and Impiety orb. Will then has a Sacred Crystal and Buffer Jewel on him. Elimo has a Buffer Jewel and Star of Hope on her, and then Bestie finally has a Buffer Jewel and a Heresy orb, sorry, not Heresy orb, Fallacy orb on her. So just before we even get into the video, I just wanted to let you guys know that my mic actually busted on me, so I'm having to actually use an alternative method to get this video recorded for you guys, so just bear with the audio. Hopefully it doesn't come out as bad as I'm imagining it to be. So the friend unit that I bring here is a Griff friend. Griff friend had a Heresy orb and an Occult Treasure on him, and then I just bring two random units with me because I only used the one squad here. So this trial, the team actually needs to be a team that deals a lot of heavy damage while keeping consistent Brave Burst. That's the aim of this team here. So the item setup that I bring is the 2 Fusion Potions, 3 Fusion Tonics, 2 Crescent Dews, 2 Revive Lights, and then I decided to bring Holy Flutes here. The reason why I bring Holy Flutes is because Gazia does have a HC and a BC drop resistance, so having those Holy Flutes on hand can be pretty useful to get that Brave Burst Gorge full. So the battle consists of 2 forms. So the first form you'll be up against is Gazia's 6-star form. Like I said, Gazia does have a HC and a BC drop resistance, so using a Holy Flute on the first turn can be pretty helpful. Make sure you are using a Fujin on your mitigator. The reason why you need to use a Fujin on the first turn is because Gazia does open up with some pretty hard hitting attacks that can pretty much wipe your team out if you don't have mitigation on. So I strongly recommend you use a Fusion potion on one of your mitigators. So also throughout the battle, Gazia will summon one of 3 SPS units randomly throughout the battle. You can have more than one on the field with him as well. These units can be Cyclor, Urialis, and Greed Snare. When he summons these units, he turns into the same element as that unit he summons. So if you summon Cyclor, it becomes a fire type element. If you summon Urialis, it becomes an earth type element. And if he summons Greed Snare, it becomes a thunder type element. Several turns after destroying these units, he'll then revert back into his normal light form. When you destroy these SPS units, Gazia will use a move called Call to Exile, which gives himself a reflect buff. So when you deal damage to Gazia, expect a lot of heavy damage to be dealt back to you while that reflect buff is on him. The only way to really counter this effectively is to use Elimo's or your healing units heal. So use that at the end of each of your turns while that reflect buff is still on. So HP thresholds here. At 80% HP, Gazia will use a move called Dispersal Field, where he gives a mitigation buff on himself for 3 turns. You have, I believe, 3 turns to take his HP down to 70% HP or below to cancel out his ultimate attack, Ruination, which can pretty much ruin your squad. Once that 3-turn mitigation is gone and you've got his HP down below 70%, he will then use the move called Talon of Pain, which inflicts damage over time on all of your units. The best way to really counter that damage over time buff is to have a unit that gives heal over time buff to your units. A very great example here will be Will's Super Brave Burst, which gives a heal over time buff, a pretty good heal over time buff actually. So 50% HP, Gazia will use a move called Light Suppression. Light Suppression gives Gazia a stealth buff. The only way to really attack him while he's got that stealth buff on is to use Brave Burst attacks. The turn following after the stealth buff, he will then use a move called Extermination, which is a massive AoE attack that can deal a lot of damage. I would highly recommend that you use your mitigator's Brave Burst on that turn. If your mitigator's Brave Burst is not full, then use a Fujin and then use your mitigator's Brave Burst. Then at 30% HP, Gazia will use Dispersal Field again, and it's pretty much the same as the 80% HP threshold, only this time you need to pass Gazia's HP past 20% within the turn that you've got to cancel out Ruination. So let's talk about the team composition here. So like I said, I brought a Rhoa lead mainly because of the ability to gain Brave Burst when sparking. Another good alternative to Rhoa is Xenia. Over here, I'm not really using any global exclusive units, just to show that it can be done without global exclusives. But if you do have global exclusives, don't hesitate to use them. Xenia is a good alternative to Rhoa, as well as Raga. Raga can be used as an alternative to Rhoa as well. Edea I brought here as a secondary mitigator. She's got her uses, but to be honest, there's not a lot of status ailments that you can inflict here. Gazia can only be injured, so it doesn't really make Edea's role that great here. She can be replaced with Aaron or what's his name, Kronz. Elimo is here also as a mitigator and to heal our units as well as give that defense buff. She can also be replaced with Kronz as well. Honestly, Kronz would be amazing for this team if you have him. Then we have Will for that heal over time buff and that increases Brave Burst damage. Pretty useful unit to have here. If you don't have him, then use any unit that has a heal over time buff to give to your units. Then I have Bestie to basically get Brave Burst when our units are damaged. Good alternatives to Bestie are Diana, Libera, Medina, but the best unit to bring here is Bestie. And then we finally have a Griff to basically increase the damage that we deal here and also give that crit buff. And alternatives to Griff can be Zeus or even Trident here if you want to use those global exclusives. And that's pretty much it. The main aim of a team, if you're forming a team for this squad, if you're forming a squad for this trial, you need to be aiming to be able to deal a lot of damage to skip those HP thresholds while keeping consistent Brave Burst. This team did the job pretty well, so if you want to use this team as a template, that would probably be best. So the second form of Gazia will now come up, his 7-star form. It's pretty much the same moves as his 6-star form with a few additions this time. So at 90% HP, Gazia will use a buff removal attack on all your units. It's probably very useful to not have any of those SPS material units when that happens, because they can end up using an AoE that can wipe out your squad if you're unlucky. So be careful of that when he uses the buff removal. He'll then follow up with a massive AoE attack after that buff removal on the following turn. So have your heal up and have your mitigation ready as well. At 80% HP, Gazia will use Light Suppression, which gives him that stealth buff. So obviously you need to have that mitigator ready for the next turn to survive that AoE that he follows up with. Then at 70% HP, Gazia will use Dispersal Field. Dispersal Field is basically like that move where you need to rush his HP down to 60% to cancel out Ruination. At 50% HP, Gazia will then use buff removal attack again. So just follow what you did at 90% HP. At 40% HP, Gazia uses Light Suppression again. So just follow what you did at 80% HP. And then at 30% HP, Gazia will use Dispersal Field. So you need to rush his HP down to 20% this time to cancel out that Ruination attack. And then at 20% HP is where things can get really difficult. You really want to be wiping him out as fast as possible after 20% HP. The reason why is because at 20% HP, Gazia uses a move that leaves all your units at 1 HP. I believe the move's called Holocaust. Leaves your units at 1 HP. If you have any SPS material units, you can kiss some of your units goodbye. So you really want to get rid of some of those SPS units before you even reach that 20% HP threshold. Then, once you've actually got him to 20% HP, I highly recommend that you use a unit's ultimate Brave Burst that increases the damage output that you deal and finish him off as fast as possible, because he does hit really hard after that 20% HP. And that is it for this trial. It's actually very straightforward, very simple. A lot of us were expecting a trial that was devised by Satan, but it ended up being the complete opposite. I think the running joke that's going around, and it's actually sadly very true, is the difficult part about this trial is actually clearing trial X3. X3 was ridiculously hard. This trial was toned down quite a bit. I wouldn't say it's a bad thing, but I think it could have had a few more challenging elements. But the free unit that we get from this is an absolutely amazing free unit, probably the best free unit in Brave Frontier in my opinion. It's a free mitigator unit, and Also 35% to all stats on the lead skill, 10% mitigation to I think all elements as well. So it's pretty crazy actually. What else? That's pretty much it about this trial. There's not really much else. Here you can see me use, I used Rhoa's ultimate Brave Burst here. Rhoa's ultimate Brave Burst is very useful to deal damage as fast as possible. You also see that I get rid of Grease Snare as soon as I pass that 20%. I actually noticed though that when you pass the 30% HP threshold, he will only use that Holocaust move 3 turns after that 30% HP threshold once you've passed 20% HP. So I think that's how Ruination works as well. You get 3 turns to basically pass him below that HP threshold to cancel out Ruination and replace it with Talon of Pain. So I think that's what goes on when you cancel out Ruination. And that's pretty much it about this trial. Nothing really hard, to be honest. If you follow the squad that I've got here, or an alternative squad, you should be very easy. It should be very easy for you actually, especially if you're using those global exclusives. And there it is, that free unit that we get. I think he needs a Legend Stone, so yeah, get a Legend Stone ready if you're gonna evolve this guy. So that is it. You also get a free gem for this trial as well. So let's take a look now at this unit. So there he is, Gazia, MST underscore unit comment underscore 850346 underscore summon. He's got a way with words apparently. But anyway, there you go, Gazia. There's one thing that really bugs me about him, and it's his design is a bit weird. I guess that's just my preference. Some of you guys may like his design. Just for me though, it's not as appealing. But that is it. You get him as a Lord type. I hope this video helped you guys out. Be sure to give it a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you haven't already. Again, I apologize for the recording. It's a bit weird. But anyway, I will see you guys in the next one. See ya.